Hello poker enthusiasts, you want to see how to play pocket kings correctly? Then you're in luck. Today we are reviewing a few student hands and quite a few of them involve pocket kings. They were sent in by Otavio Henrique from Brazil, and I think Otavio Henrique likes poker as well as beer. So thanks for these hands, Otavio Henrique, and without further ado, let's get going.
Let's start with a hand that a lot of players actually make mistakes, I think. Pocket kings on the button, so low jack raises, cutoff calls, we squeeze. It's a dream spot here to squeeze, and we get called by both players. Flop comes queen jack 6 with a flush draw, which looks a bit worse than it actually is here, so I'm not too worried. Hero does go for the continuation bet against the two players, that's fine, size-wise also a third pot, and we get called by both players. Now the 10 comes and this makes it not great now. That said, we are the only ones who really have ace-king in our range, so we can continue betting here and still get called by worse. Obviously, we're not always good here against a hand like Jack 10 now, Queen 10, a Queen Jack that's slow played, the flop, still pocket 6s potentially. So yeah, I'd be a bit more careful now. Hero goes for half pot. Can see betting here, but I would go a bit smaller on this node. That said, I might have just checked behind here. But here now, the low jack shoves on us, the cutoff folds, and now here we are. We have an overpair, we have an open-ended straight draw, we only have 42.6 big blinds behind, and we can see that if we call here we have to be good 19% of the time. And our hero folded here, and I do not like this fold, and the reason is the following. So hero said that at the micros players usually have it when they check raise all in, and I get that. I think we are beat more often than we are not beat here. However, we have to be good 19% of the time. And now let's look at a pretty bad case scenario where the villain has a set. We can still win by either rivering an ace or a 9 or a king. So that's 10 outs. 10 outs means that we are good, like we have about 20-21% here. So that's already more than the 19 that we need here. And on top of that, he could be bluffing or he could be overvaluing his hand. Plus, if he has a hand like Queen Jack here, then we have even more outs than any 10 and any 6 also helps us. So that's another 6 outs, another 12 to 13% here. So it is definitely a mistake here to fold. So this is another very interesting hand. Hero opens 8-7 suited from the low jack. Two things to keep in mind here. One is remember not to open all your suited connectors and not all the time. And secondly, if you open such a hand, just keep in mind this is only a break-even hand. You only do it for board coverage and for nothing else really. Here we get 3-bet by the small blind, easy call. This is slightly plus EV now. Jack 6 with 2 spades. This is a good flop for us. Villain makes a mistake, he only c-bet small. He should either go big here or check, so we have a very easy call. I don't think raising is bad, but I don't think we have to, so I would just call here as well. The offsuit 4 doesn't help anyone. He now goes over half pot. I still think we have to call here. There's nothing else to do. We have to be careful if the ace, king, or queen of spade hits. He might boat up when we make our flush, but other than that, I think all the other spade outs are pretty clean for us. The offsuit king now, yeah, obviously not great for us. Not bad for villain's range, but he now checks. And now the question is, what should we do here? Obviously we don't have any showdown value with our 8 high, so I would advocate to just jam here. And I hear you say, but Andreas, how can you jam here with 2 spades? Aren't we supposed to just give up with spades? Well, most of the time, yes, but not here. Because look at this. The reason why you give up with spades normally in such a spot is because you block the villain's auto folds heavily. But here you don't block anything with the 8 and the 7 of spades, because villain does not have any 8 and any 7 in his pre-flop 3 betting range from the small blind in GTO terms. He just wouldn't 3-bet 7s or 8s or ace 8 suited, ace 7 suited, and so on. So we can just jam here, I think, and we would get folds from a lot of hands that actually just try to bluff us, like ace queen or ace 10 or something like that. Plus, if he has a hand like pocket queens, pocket 10s, pocket 9s that he played this way, I think he would struggle to call the jammy. As played, hero just check behind, and obviously we lose. We lose to pocket 9s, and that's exactly one of those hands where I said we could have gotten it to fold. Here hero has a7 off in the big blind, and the small blind makes it only 2.4x. That's way too small. In the small blind you should always go around 3x here, and with this hand you can either 3-bet or call. Hero calls. We flop second pair. Now we face a c-bet, but more than half pot. Yeah, nothing else to do than to call, I think. On the turn, the 6 shouldn't improve our villain. He now bets 6 into 10. Well, he's basically saying he's got a jack or a better, or a good jack or a better, and I think you should actually make it bigger here. So this is a bit of a weird bet size, but I still think there is nothing else to do than to call. Small blind has a very wide range. It's not been filtered at all, really. So yeah, we definitely have to call again here. And the river is a 10. Now villain checks to us. I think this is very easy to check behind. Now what would we have done if he had triple barreled here? I think then it would have been a fold. But here, yeah, easy check behind, and we lose to king 10, which is very unfortunate that he hit the 10 on the river, but we played it very well. Another hand here with pocket kings, and low jack raises to 2.2. Note that he only has 50 big blinds in his stack. Hero goes for 7 here. I think that's fine, but because he only has 50 big blinds, I could size down here to just 6 big blinds, but this is nitpicking. Anyway, we get called. 10-8 deuce, not the best flop in the world. We can either big bet or check, and again, because he only has 50 big blinds here, big bet would not exceed half pot. This is exactly what hero does. We get called. Now 7, again, not great, but also not terrible. Hero goes with half pot here, which is fine, but probably I would have gone slightly smaller, just because low jack only has 35 big blinds behind, so I could have made it here something like 11 or 12 and then got it in on the river. Or the other option is to just overbet jam here and just get it done with. If he has a 10 or jacks or queens, he will still call. But with this size in no man's land here, now we get jammed on, and I mean, for me this looks like a very easy call off here, nothing to even think about, but hero decided to fold. Again, with the argument that if you get check raised, these stakes, they usually have it, and yes, they have it. However, I don't think this is a bluff, let's put it this way. It's possible, but I don't think so. But it could be a 10, it could be pocket jacks, it could be pocket queens, it could be 2 pair, it can also obviously be a set. I doubt that it's jack 9 for a straight or 9-6 for a straight, but you never know, especially at these stakes. However, again, look, you only have to be good 20% of the time, and even if you are behind and the kings are the only outs, that's still 2 kings, okay, that's about 4.5%, but I still think there is a lot of other stuff here. There is no way I fold in this spot, and unfortunately the hero was a little bit too nitty again here. So this is a hand that Hero played a while ago, and he said he wouldn't do that anymore, which is a good thing, because here low jack limps, so most likely not a great player. We have queen 4 suited in the small blind. I would not even think twice and just fold this hand. Yes, I understand you want to play pots against bad players, but not with queen 4 suited out of position. Here we do get called, obviously, ace 8-4. Now that we got ourselves into this mess, we have bottom pair, and I'm okay to just continuation bet here. We get called again. We get bailed out now with flop or turning trips here, so Hero now goes half pot. I would have liked to see a much bigger bet here, because if Villain has an ace, he will most likely call again, and if he has a flush draw, he will most likely call again. So I would have gone at least pot, possibly over bet here. We do get called. Now the flush completes, and now Hero goes for a 2/3 pot bet, and I don't really like this. Yes, it's possible that we still get called by an ace, but I would have gone smaller here. Now an ace might actually fold to this bet here, although he is a fish. It's possible that he calls, but I don't really like it. And here we get jammed on, obviously. And very easy fold, so if you call here, then that's really, really bad, and our Hero did find the fold in the end. So another one with pocket kings here. We open them in the cutoff, get 3-bet, and folds back to us. What a dream spot once again. Definitely going for a 4-bet here. My 4-betting size here, because we're out of position, would be something like, well, not too big, but 18, 19 big blind. Hero goes a little bit too small here, so just min clicking I do not like. It would have to be a little bit bigger. We get called now here, and now this board is really terrible. If you ever want to not continuation bet a board in a 4-bet pot, this is kind of it. I mean, at least it's not monotone, but as a 4-better, we basically do not have any queens in our range except for pocket queens, so really not great. Also, we might not have 4-bet pocket 10s and pocket 8s, definitely no jack 9, so we don't really have the really nutted hands. We obviously have aces and kings, but apart from that, only queens and potentially some 10s, whereas Villain has all 3 sets available, might even have jack 9 suited available, has queen 10 suited, so he really has the nut advantage here. So I would just start out with a check here and possibly then go for a check raise. So that doesn't mean that I wouldn't get it in here with my overpair, but I would probably just check here. Hero goes for a 3rd pot bet, and I think this is just too big as well. Typically you'd go more a 1/4 than a 1/3 as a c-bet in a 4-bet pot, and especially on this board here, but yeah, I mean, it's not a terrible mistake. Now we get raised straight away, and this is not a good sign here. 4-bet pots are generally underbluffed. Villain just chose to raise us here, but then I was thinking, well, he is in position and it's a small SPR, so if he does have a set here, maybe he would just slow play it. Yeah, I mean, I would be concerned, but not overly concerned, and I would definitely not have done what our Hero did here, which is to fold. I think this is again a little too nitty here, just because we get raised once, so I think I would have called here and then just evaluated turn, so I think this is too nitty. Here Hero opens Queen Jack suited in the cutoff, gets called by the big blind, A7-7 with 2 hearts, obviously pretty good for our hand. We can either check or bet small here. We don't have as many 7x as the big blind does, so I don't hate checking behind here with a hand that pretty much everyone would bet, but it's absolutely fine to go 3rd pot here. But the danger obviously is that we get check raised, but here we do have a good hand to continue, so Hero found that call, and now the deuce of clubs brings in the 2nd flush draw, and now Villain almost pots it, and this is a very close one. We don't get the exact odds to call here, but you could argue that we do have some implied odds. However, I have two issues here with calling. One is if we make our flush, I'm just not sure that we could extract that much value because it's quite obvious what we have there. But that said, it's still possible that a 7 would call us. The other issue that I see is that we're not drawing to the nuts here. So it's quite close. I could go either way here, and I don't think you're really doing much wrong either way. So I would just take the lower variance route and fold here. And that's also what Hero did, so I'm okay with this one. Pocket 6 is here in the big blind. We face an open from the cutoff to 3x. Nothing else to do than to just call here. Jack 8 deuce with 2 clubs. We check. He bets third pot. Hero calls, and I'm totally on board with that, especially because we have the 6 of clubs. Not because we want to make a backdoor flush, because it would only be a 6 high one, so not that great, but because if a 6 comes, we have a really good hand and the flush will not have hit, so that's really good. We decide to call. As I said, he should kind of bet pretty much range here because the card is so good, so you don't necessarily want to polarize on this exact card. You would polarize more on a queen, a 10, even an ace, but the king is the one card where you don't necessarily need to polarize just because it hits his range so much better than yours. So villain does okay here by going third pot, and now at this point I would just fold because the card really is so good for him. Plus he could also continue betting here with a jacks. You do beat quite a few of his bluffs, but even some of them might have equity. A queen 10, ace 10, ace queen, a flush draw. So I would be out at this point, even though the price is pretty good. Hero does decide to call, and I don't think it's a big mistake, but I do think it's not the best course of action. And now the ace on the river makes it even worse for us. Now it would definitely fold if he bets again, but he checks behind and he has queen jack, and yes, unfortunately we lose, and that's why I would just have folded the turn. We have pocket 9s in the big blind. Again, you can just call here and set mine, but I do like the heart that my student shows here by 3-betting, but again, same small mistake, just going too small here. I would have made it 15 instead of 11, and we get called by the original raiser once again. Again, a king high flop. This one is even a bit better because it's king 8 deuce, although not that it matters much. We go third pot once again. Happy with that. We get called. Another one where the second flush comes in, and the queen is really a card that should not help him a lot. Yes, he could have floated with something like ace queen or queen x of diamonds, but I still think this is not too helpful for him. We still have the nut advantage here, and it's another one where we could consider firing here. However, I do understand that we have some showdown value, but then this happens again. He just bets again, and this time he actually bets tiny and we fold, so we only need to be good 19% of the time here. It is tricky, so I do understand why Hero folded here. On the other hand, we're just getting such a good price. Yeah, it's difficult. That's why I would probably just have double barreled again here in the hope that I would even fold out hands like jacks or 10s or anything that just floated there like ace jack that still has loads of equity. So yeah, I would have gone for the double barrel here.
By the way, if you would like me to analyze your hands in one of my videos, then please just leave a comment underneath this video.
Here we have ace jack in the hijack. We open, get called by the big blind. King, queen, queen with 2 hearts. We have an overcard and a gut shot, so I'm happy to range bet here anyway. And we get called. Now the flush comes in. We bet again. We bet 5 big blind. I think it's fine. I could have imagined going a tiny bit smaller here on the flush completing card. You don't really want to go too big, but it's fine. It's not really a big issue. And we get called again, and now on this river, villain checks to us again. Hero just checks behind, basically giving up. I don't think you have a lot of showdown value here with ace high, and it's not really an issue to give up. However, I think this is just such a good spot to just go really big on this river, because you have all the nuts here. You have pocket kings, you have pocket queens, you have king queen, you have the ace high flush. You can just have a naked ace, you can have ace of hearts, queen of something that you would play this way. You can have ace of hearts with a jack or a 10 or something like that. Villain has such a capped range after calling twice here, and yes, I do think he has something. He probably has a king or a queen here, but I think it's unlikely that he has a heart. It's unlikely that he has really good hearts, because he would have raised you at some point. So if you just make it 2x pot here or something like that, I almost guarantee that you get loads of folds here. King has to fold, even a queen will probably fold, and you might even get the jack of hearts or the 10 of hearts to fold here. And as I said, I don't think he has any better hand than that, so just go for it. Just find these spots where villain's range is very capped and your range is completely uncapped. You can have all the nutted hands here, just 2x potted or even 3x potted, and you will print money. Here we'll lose unfortunately against king 3, but he would almost certainly have folded on the river if you 2x or 3x it here. Here we open ace jack offsuit in the cutoff. Small blind calls, big blind calls. Small blind only had about 50 big blinds in his stack. We flop top pair top kicker, pretty good. But now small blind does this, a pot sized donk here on a board that he shouldn't have any leads on really. Big blind folds, and well, yeah, whatever we have to call here. We could consider raising actually. If he had donked smaller, I would definitely have advocated raising here. But because he pots it and the SPR is not that huge, I think it's fine to just call here and then evaluate turn. If he checks now, I would definitely bet fairly big, but he doesn't check, he pots it again. So pot sized bets from recreational players are quite scary, and they don't tend to be bluffs. So I don't think this is a bluff here, but then what is it? I mean, yeah, 5-4 is actually a possibility, pocket 6s, pocket 3s are a possibility. However, I also think king jack, queen jack, jack 10. So yeah, hero just folded here. Again, I kind of think it's a bit too nitty, because I don't expect a lot of players to really lead a set from the small blind for this sort of a size. Some do definitely, but a lot of players would just prefer to check raise here or just send bag and just check call or something like that. So I think I would have just called this one down and had hoped that he did it with a weaker jack. And I mean, if he did have a set, then good luck to him, but I think this is another one where it's a little bit too nitty to just fold here. Now we have a raise here in the cutoff. The small blind just called here, and we have ace jack suited in the big blind. We could of course just call here, but I was really happy to see that my student squeezed here with this hand. This is a perfect hand to do it with. We could just take it down 6 big blinds. We are only risking 10 to win 6, so very happy with that. Size is the only issue here a little bit. In the big blind I would go 12.5 anyway to a raise, and then with caller in between I would probably make this 15 rather than 11, but apart from that I think this was a good idea. King 3 deuce, this is a board where we can just range bet pretty much, so happy to see the third pot bet here. We do get called, and now the second flush draw 7 shouldn't really help him, doesn't help us. I mean, yes, you can definitely just check behind here, but the problem is, like, you're leaving yourself to get, well, not necessarily bluffed that much, but I think if you now check, then this is gonna happen quite a bit. He will just bet, and he will bet even a hand like 8s through queens here, because it's clear to him that you don't have a very strong hand here. And he might just do this with a flush draw, he might do it with even some ace high that he floated you with, because remember, you made it small, which was right, but you only made it to third pot here on the flop, and he is in position, so he is incentivized to float quite wide. So that's why I would have just followed through here with a double barrel on this turn, and then I think you would have gotten a lot of pocket pairs to fold, and possibly even a hand like ace queen or something like that. So I think there would be merit in doing that. Instead, now what happens is obviously you just have to fold in this situation. So it's not terrible, because he might indeed have a hand that has you beat, but I think this would have been a good one to go for the double barrel.
So, Otavio Henrique definitely has some good fundamentals, and obviously I only picked hands here today that he didn't play perfectly because we want to learn something from there, but he has played a lot of other hands very well and very much in line with poker theory. That's it for today, and if you want to watch more student hand reviews, then click on the video up here. This is Andreas signing off. Good luck at the tables.